You're watching The Breakfast Club.
Morning, everybody. It's DJ NV Angela Yee, Charlamagne the Guy. We are The Breakfast Club. We have a special guest in the building. Goes by the name of Ben Raymond. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. Thanks for having me today, y'all.
Oh, thanks for joining us.
Coming, man.
Author of Playing the Game Without a Coach.
I saw you on Mr. Steve Harvey's show. I think it was Father's Day episode. I think it was.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I had the kids on there and stuff.
Yes, sir.
You got a really interesting story, man.
Well, I think for me, growing up, man, it was a lot of dark days. My mom, at the age of 6 months, lost me to foster care, diagnosed bipolar schizophrenic. And when I would look right for my father, he was nowhere to be found, man. I saw him once at the age of 7 for 5 minutes and didn't see him again for 20 years. I was searching for him and ultimately did an internet search, and that's where I found him in federal prison. So For me, it was just dark days, man, just trying to make it.
And you had a white mother and a black father.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So I always tell people, man, I was born in 2 different cultures, 2 different languages, 2 different lifestyles. You got this big black kid, this short little white woman, and you got a father that's nowhere to be found. So for me, I always just wanted somebody who looked like me, who could show me the ways, and I just didn't have that growing up.
So your mom was bipolar schizophrenic. What were some of the things that would happen that you ended up in foster care?
Well, my mom, typical days for her, she was having conversations with herself. Anybody knows somebody with schizophrenia, bipolar manias, you have all types of episodes. So, I'd be in the house watching TV, and she'd be yelling at me for dribbling the basketball. I'm not even dribbling the basketball. She'd bring in folks that she dated. Yeah, but hey, it's stereotypical, but that's the way life was for me. My mom, with my father, she would date the type of guys that would beat her up, verbal abuse. Bringing drugs in the house. So for me, it wasn't an environment that I really wanted to be around or be a part of, and it was just tough for me because I didn't really have anywhere else to go.
Is it hereditary?
Statistics say it is. My mother, before I was born, she didn't take her medicine because she was so afraid that she might pass that on. But statistics say it can pass. And, you could have somebody within the family. Of course, I don't have it. But that is something that, I think everyone's always afraid of when somebody in their family has it.
I've been hearing a lot about the biracial struggle lately. It's a rapper named Logic. He raps about it a lot. But he looks more like a white guy.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I always wonder how that affects him. But with you definitely look like a brother, but then you have a white mother. So do you feel torn when you see the injustices that are going on with black people in America, and you can see how whiteness works against us in a lot of ways?
I think for me, I was always reminded I was a black kid growing up. It didn't matter whether, even at the age of 27 when I opened my own business, I got cops interrogate me, asking me to show ID. I'm standing in front of my business. I'm not doing anything wrong. I've always been identified as a black kid, and I've always been proud of that. I think for so many there is that confusion. Growing up playing ball, basketball was the one thing where people didn't see color. I was nice on the court, and I think for most people, that's just something that most people can identify with. But I think it's tough. I think what we have going on in America right now, you have a lot of injustice, and that's part of the reason why I try to mentor a lot of kids and work with kids, because, there's just so much stuff going on and so much chaos and confusion that we need somebody out there that can do something.
And the way you see prejudice has to be different.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I worked in corporate America for 5 years. I've been overlooked for jobs that shouldn't have been. I've been passed up for so many opportunities that shouldn't have happened. Anybody who's a black man working in America understands what's going on. And, I've always had to run my business with a double standard. I've always had to do a little bit more, show a little bit more for what? I think everybody just wants equal opportunity, but in reality, that's not the case.
I meant to ask, though, go back to biracial parents. Why would most kids, how come nobody usually says, you know what, I picked the white side, I'm white? Most people say I'm black.
Because he can't. Look at him.
He doesn't really have a choice.
Because he
But
can't.
he's still half and half. It doesn't matter. He can,
I don't know that.
You know, when you growing up and everybody's asking why your lips big when you're around white folks, I think real quick you understand that you're a black kid, and you know that's just something I always identified with. Those are the posters on my wall. Those are the women I always wanted. Those were the athletes that I always admired. That's who I was. So I've always admired. I've always identified black.
Now, when you got out of foster care, did your mom take you back? Did she start taking her medicine? Was she able to raise you?
Yeah. So my mom got me back after a couple years working through the court system, and for the next 6 to 7 years, she would lose me, get me back, lose me, get me back.
Did you want to go back to her, or were you settled into a better family, a better household?
You know, in the 8th grade for me, that was the breaking point. You know, that was it for me. I was sick and tired of being sick and tired. I was sick of bouncing around house to house. I was sick of seeing her, you know, doing the things that she was doing, and I knew that she needed help. So I called my high school coach in the 8th grade, and I asked to live with him. And through high school, I lived with 3 different families over a 4-year period. In the senior year, it was a family kind of like Blindside. You know, this white family took me in. You had this big athlete, and that was really my lowest point in my life. I was thinking of quitting. I was thinking of giving up, and they gave me the love and the nurturing I needed, which ultimately propelled me to get a scholarship and do the things I've done in business.
Have you found yourself? I mean, of course, I'm sure you have defending white people. Cause like, you know, like people are white people are all racist. White people are the devil. Like, that's why I say your experience has been totally different.
You know, love is love. So, you know, I've had some people who have loved me who have been white, and, you know, if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be in the place I am today. I don't stand with racism or anything like that. You know, I think the biggest thing we got out here is people just don't know each other. They don't understand each other. They don't give anybody opportunity, so therefore the stereotypes are what they are.
Mm-hmm. How was life for you in school, going through everything that you were going through with the other students?
You know, I was this confident kid. You know, you see me walk in, I was always that kid, whether I had money or not. I was dressed to a T. I would make things work, but on the inside, I was broken. You know, as a kid, I was the kid going home crying by myself. I was the kid angry. I was the kid, you know, getting in fights. And, you know, for me, that was just really because I didn't understand my identity. I didn't know what was going on. You got your mother who, you don't know bipolar schizophrenia. I think, hell, a lot of people don't even understand it today. So for me, it was just a lot of confusion.
Was she violent toward you?
She was never violent towards me. I think you see a lot of folks that are. You know, she had an episode when I was born with my father where, you know, she stood over him and had a knife and she was going through some stuff. And ultimately, she left the house and got on a bus and was on a bus for several hours to the point where she didn't know where she was, and somebody ultimately got her into a hospital. But she never was the violent type towards me. It was almost more or less her just going off into left field kind of.
I don't see you making too many excuses for your situation either.
No, I'm a no excuse person. I mean, I always tell people I don't have sympathy. You know, for me, making it, quote unquote, getting to a position where I am, I feel like you had a position, the power to do what it is you want to do. And I'm not an excuse guy, and I don't believe that anybody should. And I think when you look at playing the game without a coach, if you see someone like myself who you can't really judge a book by its cover. You see on the outside he looks good, but on the inside I've been fighting with a lot of things that a lot of people have growing up and have today. And I think when you see somebody do it, you have no excuse but to do it yourself.
Now, you said you got a scholarship to go to school. That was for basketball?
Yes, yeah.
What school did you go to? What college?
To Minnesota.
To Minnesota. Did you see yourself going further, maybe to the league, drafted or anything like that? Did you get that far?
You know, a lot of my teammates, I was the kid on my team that was the best. Ultimately, Karan Butler was one of my old teammates. Played a lot of years with him. He ended up winning a championship with the Mavericks. And for me, I had some overseas opportunities, but ultimately I didn't make it to the league. But I think that was the biggest thing. I used my education, you know, my scholarship to get me education so I could go into the workforce and be the person I am today. Because I think too many kids want to be athletes. I just left a mentoring camp. All these kids telling me they want to be ball players, but can't dribble with their left hand, can't really shoot a basketball. And I think sometimes we gotta pour into these kids and make them understand there's more than just, shooting a basketball or throwing a football.
Now, who taught you? Was it that the family that you said brought you in? You know,
You're from Minnesota. Prince taught him how to play basketball.
Yeah. Prince taught me a couple things. I can't quite sing, but I can do a little bit of something.
Was it that family that taught you the business mind and invest your money in a certain thing?
That family is the first time I had rules. I had no rules. I was by myself. So I bring girls into the house. Hey, you can't have a girl in your house. If you keep doing it, you're out. If you don't have a job, you got to move out. All these rules that I never had. And the individual who I live with, Mr. Hughes, he was a businessman, a successful businessman. I got opportunity to follow him and really study what he did and really get advice from him. And that really helped me and put me in a position where I am today.
How did you respond to having these rules when you weren't used to having them? Because I can imagine as a kid, you would rebel against something like that when you're used to doing what you want to do.
Well, what else am I going to do? If I don't follow the rules, I'm out. I don't have anywhere else to go. So for me, I had to do it. So I think it was tough love, and I think for me, I needed it. I needed someone to show love for me, not just a basketball player, but love me for Ben. And that's where I first felt loved. I mean, they had a Christmas party, and you got this white family, you got this black kid, and they're like, getting a picture of Ben. I'm like, what you mean getting a picture? I'm this kid that's just living there. I don't identify as being their brother or their son. And they're like, get your ass in here so we can take his picture. You're our son, you're our brother. And that's when I really felt loved. I mean, I think so many foster kids and so many kids are in families where they don't really feel like they're connected or identify with them. And I think, for me, that was the first time I really felt that.
You still keep in touch with that family now?
Oh, yeah. I talk to the Hughes family all the time. Got a great relationship. I'll be seeing them here in the next month.
It was never mom and dad, though. You never said.
What's that?
Being in, them taking you in, you never called them mom, dad.
No, I always, Mom Cat is who I call her. You'll see that in the book. But Mom Cat really, she loved me, but she also loved my mother. She allowed my mother to get the help she needed. She was really the second mom that I needed. So I always called her Mom Cat or Mom because, I think there's so many people out here that need a second mom, a second father, somebody. So for me, that's what I called them.
Now, you Steve Harvey's son-in-law.
Yes, sir.
How the hell do you kick it doing to Steve Harvey's daughters? Because I know Steve gives them women the game like don't nobody give it to him. So what did you say? Did you read his book beforehand?
Well, it's funny. You guys know my story now, so you imagine him hearing all these stories and then me asking him, can I have your daughter's hand in marriage? I mean, come on now.
Yeah.
But I actually started participating in Mr. Harvey's mentoring camp in 2009. I was a sponsor. I owned a State Farm insurance agency, so I would sponsor the camp where all the kids would go. And I knew him before I even met my wife, so I was going to the camp for 3 years. I met my wife June 16, 2012 at the mentoring camp, and I think when I first was introduced as her boyfriend, he gave me one of those looks like, all right, I like you, but now this is my damn daughter. And I respect that. Mr. Harvey is a loving man. I think he's everybody's uncle, everybody's father, and he just wanted what was best for his daughter, and that's what I wanted as well. So I think he respected me as a person before I really met him.
Did he look you up and down? Did he press you?
He gave me all of that.
Yeah.
He gave me all of that, but I held my own, and I'm so thankful to have him as a father-in-law. Such a great man.
How many kids? Do you have any kids?
Yes, we just had our first child, my wife, Carly.
I see them in the book.
Yeah, you see them in the book. BJ, also known as my father-in-law calls him Little Buddha, is the real star of the family. He was born 4 years to the day I met my wife at the mentoring camp. So last year when you were at the mentoring camp, that was the first camp I missed because of the birth of my son. So we celebrated his first birthday on Friday with the 250 fatherless boys because I want my son to know that although he has a coach, he has someone who's going to be with him the rest of his life. He needs to understand that there's so many others that don't.
How do you prepare yourself to have conversations with those young men at those mentorship camps?
I think for me is really having conversations with God, just trusting the words that come out. I mean, you got boys that are coming to the camp that are thinking of committing suicide, thinking of giving up. Their friends been shot and killed in front of them, but I identify with all of them because I know what it's like. They come off, one particular kid came off the bus, he was ready to fight the Army. And you see something like that, and you understand quickly that they're going through a lot more than just a little bit of anger issues. And through the week, we uncover that. And that's the first time these boys see, men that look like them, that are giving them love, showing them love. And I think, for me, it's just my heart. I just really love being with the boys, and they can relate and know that I'm going through the same stuff they are. So if I can do it, you can do it. So I have no excuses. The military that's there, the other men that are there, they don't play as well.
All right.
Well, we appreciate you for joining us this morning. And pick up his book, Author of Playing the Game Without a Coach. There you have it. Ben Raymond, thank you again.
I am BenRaymond.com. Grab a copy today, y'all.
There you go. It's The Breakfast Club. Good morning.